Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Conspiracy Farm, where we don't start the conspiracies, we just add the water. And now, your host of the most state-of-the-art, most informed podcast on the interweb, I present to you Pat Miletich and Jeffrey Wilson. Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready for war?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are off to the races. Another episode, another installment for the archives of the Conspiracy Farm. We do not start the conspiracies, we just add a little bit of water. I'm rolling shotgun, as always, with my partner in crime, UFC Hall of Famer Pat Miletich. What's up, brother?
You know, I'm out here in Providence, Rhode Island, getting ready for another broadcast on Access TV of CES, which is a mixed martial arts organization based in Providence, Rhode Island. Jimmy Birchfield Sr. and Jr. run that, along with Pat Sullivan, their matchmaker and operations guy. So I'm, excited about the show tonight. We've got some good fights, and then excited to be on the little Skype action with you to talk about current affairs, what's going on.
The world continues to be in chaos as always. We had some technical difficulties. We were away for a little bit. We gave a couple of attempts to interview Tierney Elizabeth Lee Beck, and for the love of all that's decent, things just did not go our way. We'll try to get her back at some point in time as things progress, but those two attempts were unsuccessful, but very, very interesting conversation. A very interesting person, is she not, Pat?
Yeah, she's interesting, and I saw her with George and Jason. George Webb and Jason Goodwin, and she was actually wearing a tinfoil hat.
I saw that. I guess, she doesn't take herself too seriously, but, with the conversation being as serious as it is, maybe people may not take her as serious with those kind of antics. But whatever. It's her prerogative. We got our own little lane to stay in. What are we talking about today, man? Like, the world continues to be a little nutty. The Russian narrative's still everywhere. North Korea. What's going on, man?
Yeah, things are interesting in North Korea. The liberal folks here in the United States seem to take more offense to Donald Trump saying that we're locked and loaded if North Korea makes the wrong move, than finding any criticism for Kim Jong-un fat boy potentially launching missiles towards Guam.
Yeah, I found it interesting, quite frankly, to take such the guy, this has been going on for a very long time with him. I posted a video of Bill Clinton with the great North Korean deal that we supposedly got, and they were going to freeze and dismantle their nuclear program, and this was dating back to the 90s, so yeah, this has been a problem.
Yeah, that was when Bill Clinton gave them $5 billion and 2 nuclear reactors, while Monica Lewinsky was giving him a blowjob.
Right. Well, and again, to equally distribute, as we always say, we're equal opportunity roasters. Donald Rumsfeld worked for a company called ABB, which also provided those guys with some hardware infrastructure for their nuclear program.
Yeah, Rumsfeld's not a good guy either in my mind. And when I go back to the Bill Clinton thing and him being able to pull that off while Monica Lewinsky was under his desk, liberals would commend him for multitasking.
While shaming our current president for actually taking a hard line. The dude is talking about, nuking, or, hitting Guam, et cetera, et cetera. It's like, when did this become acceptable? You know what I mean? We gotta at least, we can't, allow this to cats to just go threatening our allies. I guess Guam is even one of our territories.
Yeah, and then the apparently there was a Chinese newspaper that wrote that if North Korea takes the first initial action in a war, that China should stay neutral. Obviously, nobody wants China involved in this because that gets really ugly. But look, think of how this sets off. People aren't realizing that China and India have been battling over a region in Tibet for a long time. In the Dolan Plateau, is it?
Yeah.
And it's borders it's where China, India, and Bhutan all come together. And early 1960s, they had a conflict about that land. And so I sit there and I think to myself, okay, if something kicks off, and I think it's very unlikely that North Korea is dumb enough to do anything that would get them annihilated.
You don't think so?
If something were, I really don't. I don't think so. I think it's almost, and Trump's tough talk is obviously to bring Kim Jong fat boy to the table.
Well, and they're likening this to the, obviously, stress levels are high because everybody thinks he is going to do something, him being Kim Jong. And it's they're likening this to the Cuban Missile Crisis, which I found interesting, pretty provocative, because obviously that was one of the closest times we ever came to nuclear war.
Right, but I see the situation between India and China. If you're India and you want that land and make sure that you keep that land, if China were to jump in against us, does India go, well, shit, this is the time to go because they're focused on dealing with the U.S. and the North Korea situation, take our land back now, and then Pakistan jumps in on China's side against India, all nuclear powered countries. Where does Russia come in? Then the so-called allies in Europe that are complete disarray because of the mass immigration and all the other chaos going on over there.
I don't know if you saw a bunch of beachgoers in Spain were surprised to see like several huge, for lack of a better term, ships, boats, with refugees just flooding the beach.
Yeah, dude, it's I feel horrible for them. And in Hawaii, I believe that there's a lot of Syrian refugees arriving in Hawaii, from what I was told.
These refugees look to be African. I don't even know if these guys were Syrian. The boat.
Yeah, they're just refugees. But you wonder what Hawaii is doing to protect all of the all of these refugees from a potential North Korean strike.
Yeah, I mean that well, and we've talked about this, Pat. As we often say it's chess not checkers. We've talked about this region being the next theater for some time, and I do feel the chess move as it relates to this North Korea is, we've always had a presence there, but I think this is going to be the next theater of operations as it relates to anything militarily, because that South Pacific region has been militarized by the Chinese. When we talked about ASEAN, the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, and the trade deals, you're talking about, I think, the fourth or fifth largest economy in the world with all of those nations in ASEAN not having anything to do with the West. You got the president of the Philippines heading up that organization, and obviously we're seeing our CIA and our covert moves to go in there and topple them. I think for this larger region, this area is going to be in play here in the next 10, 15 years. It already is, with the Spratly Islands in China and us lifting the arms embargo in Vietnam. And I think the area that what you're talking about, we mentioned this before, China's One Belt, One Road goes right through this area that they
want to build a road through that area, through the Dolan Plateau in the Himalayas. And, so that's a very important piece of the puzzle, for the trade puzzle for them. And so, India and China are coming to a head on this thing, man.
It's interesting. Like every other time, there's always the element of fear, or some crazy leader, which Kim Jong Un is. All of these moves to the Pacific will be under the guise of combating a Kim Jong Un or whatever. When in fact it is a larger chess move, because China's not just going through that area in northern India and all that. That One Belt, One Road goes up through China into Europe and into western parts of Asia.
Right.
It's big, man. This is again, and a lot of these trade deals have nothing to do with the U.S. and we are, we're kind of left out in the breeze as it relates to this, and we're not digging that.
No,
hence the moves going on in the Philippines.
But if it leads to, God forbid, a nuclear holocaust, not a whole lot of people left to sell shit to, is there, Jeff?
Well, yeah, and that's what I said, mutually assured destruction. That doesn't, we've talked about this too, the economic interdependence of all these countries. Like, you don't scorched earth shit anymore. And that was my question I wanted to ask you. Why is it this, binary choice? Why does it have to be either we nuke North Korea or we don't? Don't we have tactical, surgical shit that's not nuclear that we could still go in and take stuff out?
I don't think we would nuke. There's no need to nuke them.
What's what I'm saying? Why do they keep saying? I mean, the news and everybody just presents the option as either he does nothing or it's nuclear.
And what's surprising to me is that we're not, and maybe we have been. I'm sure we probably have been attempting, if not succeeding, in causing failures of missile tests and all that sort of stuff, getting into their computers, messing stuff up. dropping these missiles before they get to where they're supposed to be. Because I think, what is it about? They're batting about 500 in terms of missiles actually freaking getting off the launching pad.
Yeah, and like you said, like the other day when we had a conversation, it's kind of interesting. They've had so much trouble. Now all of a sudden they're able to miniaturize and attach payload to these missiles, and they're all super successful now. Supposedly, I find that interesting too.
Yeah, that's why I sat there and I went, wait a minute. They go from not being able to hit the broadside of a barn with a missile to suddenly they have miniaturized nukes that are tipped on the tip of these missiles. I'm like, look, unless China handed them some shit, I'm no nuclear scientist, no expert, but I don't think it happens that quick, right? You don't go from unsuccessful missile tests and dropping shit into the ocean to suddenly having nuclear capabilities to hit someone halfway around the world.
Right.
So I found it very odd.
To horribly massacre a comedian's joke, you can't, as it relates to girls who get weaves, you can't be curling your hair with rice one day and then hair down to your butt the next day and think you're fooling somebody.
Exactly. So, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see what goes on with this. God forbid. I'm hoping that nothing happens. And
well, I think it is a lot of saber rattling, but I think it is a move to get us over there in a strong military fashion. Not that we're not already. I mean, but just to ramp up our military presence because, like I said, the bases China's building, the One Belt One Road, like there's a lot going on over there in the South Pacific, South China Sea, etc.
Right. So what goes on then? What goes on with this chain of islands and some of the military bases that the Chinese have built on that reef down there? How does that all pan out? What are we going to do about those? That's going to be a stressful situation for a president to have to deal with that.
Well, and it's one of those like, hey, please don't do this. Like we've been saying to North Korea, please stop building your nuclear weapons while they just steadily build them and no sanctions, nothing happens while we just request that they don't do it. That's what Tillerson has said, about China. Do not put anything on these bases. Do not militarize these bases. And sure enough, they got surface-to-air missiles, et cetera, et cetera. They've, done what we expressly asked them not to do.
Yeah. Obama didn't do shit, right?
Not to what I could see. Like I said, he lifted the arms embargo in Vietnam before he left. On one of our allies. So it's like everyone's kind of getting their pawns in place. That's going to be an interesting region, man. I'm telling you. That's going to develop, and it already is. And, we said in those other episodes, watch for terrorist attacks in that northern India region. Or, watch for basically destabilizing moves to go down in these places where, like, China's trying to do their thing. And if you can go online and find the map of the One Belt, One Road, you can see exactly the regions we're talking about. And right. that also covers some of the areas, the South Ossetia, the Georgias, the stands, where they're using terror to radicalize and encircle Russia, et cetera. So there's a lot of chess moves going on right now, brother.
Yeah. So do you think, with the terrorist funding in Syria, in North Africa, a lot of other places, obviously now in the Philippines, I mean, there have always been Muslim extremists in the Philippines, but now it seems like they're being funded a little more. Things are being revved up. Right. To destabilize them. Was that because of the president saying he was kicking out the global bankers? Probably, but
yeah.
Also it ties to the rest of this stuff that's going on that you're talking about.
Yeah.
And then there's actually been some, not widely reported, but there's been some Islamic extremist attacks in China that have started happening because there are regions of China that do have Muslims.
Well, and it's that western region. They're called the Uyghurs, and you're absolutely right. And a lot of this rat line that goes around militarizing and these Islamic armed forces are doing the very same thing there as a way to destabilize that region.
And speaking of rat lines, the ship, the Marianne Danica, is on the move. You said again.
The Marianne Danica, the Merchant of Death, as Joe Napoli has aptly pointed out in his research, the Marianne Danica essentially just takes a route, every few days up to southern Europe, essentially, as we talked about, Arsenal, which is in Bulgaria, does a lot of the exporting of these weapons. So it pretty much loads up there in that region, shoots right down to Jeddah, right back up to the southern Europe region, right back down to Jeddah. And I've literally been tracking over the last week or last few weeks actually, and that's exactly what it's been doing. One of the many ships involved in the rat line, as well as we talked about Silkway Airlines, the Saudi ran ship that also does their weapons trading as well, along with drugs, along with people, along with people's parts, along with money, etc.
Right.
These are the rat lines they're trying to. The rat lines.
What do you think the conversations? What do you think the conversations over a bourbon are in D.C. between a guy like McCain and Lindsey Graham? What do they? What do those two old scoundrels talk about? Do they talk about how much money they're making off of this stuff? Do they talk about?
I think nowadays they're starting to. I think all of them in D.C. are starting to feel the heat since this. And you don't hear about it since the Imran Awan arrest. The guy who was running, it was a part of the spy ring, running the IT for Congress. Just one part of the rat line. These things are starting to come out more and more. Elizabeth Beck, the attorney who's getting into the fraud, and as we spoke to her and I said to her, that is just going to be the tip of the spear. Once she gets into more and more of this, we're going to see more fraud, not just related to the DNC, as related to vote fraud. Within these emails are the washing of tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars with Clinton, the Clinton Foundation, the Clinton Global Initiative, pay to play, where this money went, who got it, the roots on some of these rat lines. This is the, like we said in the conversation with Elizabeth, possibly one of the biggest criminal conspiracies in a very, very long time, when people start to really understand how deep this goes and what all they're hiding. Like we say again, they're rat lines of people, drugs, money, organs. It's very, very deep, and it has nothing to do with Russia. Paul Manafort. That's just the other thing. What do you think about Paul Manafort getting raided?
Well, I think that Trump is going to be willing to give up. I mean, look, they're going to try and trip people up in when they're being questioned under oath, all this stuff.
Well, and the raid had to do nothing with Trump. The raid had to do with deals Manafort made with the former Ukrainian president Viktor Yushchenko. It had nothing to do. That's what people they just know it's a Trump associate got raided, and it just becomes, I told you, when it literally had nothing to do with Trump. It's about shit that he, his own personal business deals. Right.
And even early in the June, New York Post wrote about that, the fake dossier, the
PP dossier
from Fusion GPS.
Yes.
That put together this false dossier where all the hookers urinating on Trump and all this sort of shit was made up. Even the New York Post had written on it, where these people that are part of Fusion GPS are basically stalling investigators, right?
Well, and that's their job as a political operation, or a political op firm. Essentially, their job is to obfuscate dirty tricks. I mean, they both.
Yeah, they're an opposition research group, right?
Essentially.
So they're paid to dig up dirt. They're paid to dig up dirt on political enemies.
Or even create shit, as we see with
make it up. In this case, make it up.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and see, this was all, again, this analysis goes so deep, ladies and gentlemen. You gotta understand the players who are in your Fusion GPS, players who are in your things like CrowdStrike. This goes to the absolute heart of this, because the timing of the quote unquote hacks and leaks. Trump wasn't even the candidate yet. This was going on in the primaries, way, way early on. So it has nothing to do with him colluding with Russia and all that, because, for many reasons, but Trump hadn't even become the nominee yet. But once they did find out, the DNC did find out, they didn't go to the FBI like you normally would. They went to somewhere like CrowdStrike, who was ran by essentially former intel people. Why go to a CrowdStrike? Because they have those intel capabilities, and as this develops, and lawyers look into this, if it's the FBI, you can get FOIA requests. With a private company like CrowdStrike, you cannot get FOIA requests.
Right.
And all this information still just gets obfuscated. So when you start to get into the quote unquote leaks, the hacks, whatever you want to call it, look to CrowdStrike. And look to companies like MIS Department, who ran all of the IT for the DCC, the DNC. You got to start understanding who these players are, what acts they might have had to grind, and the access they had to these databases.
You sit there now. to rewind and explain to people, even the staunchest supporters of the DNC and their whole apparatus, that all of this Russia bullshit was started on the basis of this. Even FBI in hearings, Comey and people like that, were talking about information that was coming from this fake dossier. Right?
Yeah. Well, and that's what I'm saying. That people start getting into how this was completely manufactured to cover, basically plain and simple, to cover the crimes that have been committed beyond, like I said, beyond vote fraud. Stealing the primaries from Bernie was just one part of their, criminal activity. These guys, I mean, I'm telling you. And when you start getting into, I mean, like some of these researchers are saying, like Al Capone, these guys, the Clinton Foundation, the Clinton Global Initiative, their books are so fucked up. Their articles of incorporation or whatever to create their foundation are so fucked up. So many holes in it. All you need is a halfway decent auditor to look at this shit, and it's a wrap. And that's just some of the stuff they're finding out.
Right. Well, and it was the books were messed up enough where Eric Braverman wouldn't sign off on the financials and freaking skip town
and disappeared. Absolutely.
And so I want no part of this shit at all. Right. So, and Braverman has got to be cooperating with the FBI. He's got to be in this investigation.
From what I've been told, yeah. I mean, other researchers and investigators supposedly he has. Yeah, he's kind of flipped. And I heard a lot of people that are cutting deals now. Like we said when the Awans got arrested, start looking for suspicious deaths, people copping deals, and sure enough, in D.C. you're having shootouts with Capitol Police. You're having people who own this car dealership where this theft ring was taking place out of. He winds up dying. Silent partners of that wind up dying. Other associates of Ahmed Mahmoud, other associates of Awan brothers, they wind up showing up dead. The brother of the prosecuting of the state's attorney's office or whatever in Fairfax, Virginia, where all of this is happening, he winds up dead. A lot of dead bodies, man. That's just some.
Yeah, it's funny because you were like, "There's going to be bodies falling," and sure enough, man, that's happening at a breakneck speed.
Well, and I knew it would. Like when we talked to George Webb and Jason Goodman, and and their research on the Awans, they've been doing it for months and months and months, and literally within days of our interview, bro, Imran Awan is arrested at fucking Dulles International Airport after wiring hundreds of thousands of dollars out of the Congressional Federal Credit Union. Go fucking imagine that. And that was just one of the many times he did that. That was crazy because that was happening in real time, and I'm like, all right, the DNC lawsuit, bodies dropping down there around Elizabeth's Way, Klaus Oberwein, all these people just wanting. I mean, this is the fluidity of this whole thing is real time, and like I said, that's a good sign that we're touching, they're touching the third rail because the bodies start dropping.
we might be onto something,
right?
Did I read the stuff? That I picked up the information on Sessions and Mueller and Manafort and all that sort of stuff, those anonymous messages?
I don't know.
So
I've heard about that.
These are anonymous messages, no name attached, just somebody who claims to be an insider who's been in Washington in the White House for a while now. But it's really interesting, and I can see it being plausible. You don't. We've talked a little bit about this, but basically, it starts with true, I can confirm. Can't say more than Sessions is a distraction, and Mueller and Manafort have already been pardoned. All formal indictments and arrests will be done soon. This was all strategically planned and seamlessly orchestrated. Please remember that while we've endured 8 horrific years, there are more good guys than bad guys in D.C. And so you don't fully believe that Mueller could potentially be working with the Trump administration in exposing this stuff because he too, they say, this person claims, was compromised and basically blackmailed into doing stuff that he didn't want to do.
Well, the reason I don't necessarily buy that because Mueller's minions are doing things against Trump. Like I said, go to CrowdStrike. CrowdStrike is ran by a dude named Sean Henry. He's the former D.C. head of counterintelligence for the FBI in Washington, D.C. He was put in that place by Robert Mueller. This guy runs CrowdStrike. Under him is a dude named Dmitry Alperovich. His dad was a dude named Mikhail Alperovich, a fucking Russian double agent. So all these guys are intel players. And so CrowdStrike, seeing what they are doing, so vigorously against Trump, and Sean Henry being one of Mueller's minions. I don't know. I mean, unless he's just playing, both sides, but I just don't see that happen. I don't know.
Well, if what this says, I'll continue. He goes, Mueller's been pardoned because he's elbow deep with the Clintons, Obama, and both establishment parties.
Yes.
He ran a lot of backdoor channels with lots of missing money to account for, personal money too, in parentheses, that he'd never avoid serving time for if he was ever investigated. He was trapped a long time ago, like so many, against his will. His vengeance has been earned, and his pardon is retribution to the decades of corruption. Trump was very careful who he selected to pull out of the Obama trenches. Dude, this person sounds like they know what the hell they're talking about. Like, do you just make this shit up?
No, I judge a tree by the fruit it bears. So it's like, this is House of Cards, brother. Everybody is flipping sides. You could be absolutely right, but the only way to really know is to see, if this shit keeps happening, going after your Manaforts, your, whatever. Like yesterday, I was heartened to hear yesterday some federal judge or some investigator wants to see more of Hillary Clinton's emails.
Yeah.
And that's not, people are like, oh, get over that shit. If it was just emails about just dumb shit, I get it. But I'm telling you, this is the motherlode of the dark shit that's going on.
These aren't yoga emails. They're not yoga emails. So, but I'll continue. Mueller being the one to bring this home is the absolute best retaliatory ass fuck to the, pardon my language, but that's what it says, to the establishment. I will also say this. It's intended as a sign and smoke signal for those in the establishment still unwillingly riding the coattails of McCain, Pelosi, Graham, Schumer, etc., because they've been living in fear. Mueller proves Trump knows who the real criminals are. You're going to watch Congress unite and rally behind Trump with the establishment's collapse because they will see the swamp can no longer threaten them or blackmail them anymore. I can't really say anything else. Just have faith. So it's...
Again, time's going to tell on that one. Time will tell.
Yeah, and so it's kind of interesting, though. Look, these people are very intelligent. Trump's very intelligent. No matter what the liberals say, the guy, I mean, he's a very educated man. He's very intelligent. Dude, think of the deals he's had to negotiate. Think of the stuff, the hardballs. You don't
build the empire he's built riding the short bus. Absolutely.
So whatever liberals say, they're completely off their rocker regarding that. Mueller's not dumb. Comey's not dumb. All these people are very intelligent people, and I think, they're going to run operations. Look, my guess is Trump's like, look, there's nothing on the Russia stuff anyway, so just keep doing what you're doing, right? And Trump is probably understanding that, okay, maybe if Manafort did some stupid shit, it says Manafort already has a pardon. So go ahead and do whatever the fuck you want to with him, Mueller. Make it look like you're still going after us, right?
Right.
The smoke screen. We want this smoke screen up. We want friggin' all the news to be reporting how bad you hate me, how much you want me. But in the end, you're going to come out. You're going to come out with the shit that we're going to need. And we're going to expose these people for what they are. We're going to get the information. We're going to get the emails. We're going to get the documents. We're going to get the proof, and we're going to start putting these fucking people away. And I think that Sessions is stepping up, getting in gear with his stuff also, because I think that Trump threw a distraction out with that, make it look like they're fighting with each other, right?
Well, and I think that was kind of for public consumption, but at the end of the day, when Trump was like, dude, get off your ass with the DNC and these emails, he's talking about these rat lines. He is aware of this shit now. He knows about the Awans. He knows about
the human trafficking. He talked in his press conference about the human trafficking.
Yes. Yeah. Well, again, like you said, a lot of things are going on behind the scenes. The G4S, the gangs for security using MS-13, and then what happens in previous days, they go down to MS or El Salvador and shut that shit down. A Clinton,
it's amazing. Yeah, Trump. Yeah, we've talked about that before.
A Clinton lady got pinched for treason. A staffer got just sentenced to 100 days in jail for election fraud. So they're slowly chipping away at this shit.
And turning people.
Well, and like we said before, the bodies are going to drop or deals are going to start getting copped. It's like, all right, I'm a small fish, but I know a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's the thing is, and we've talked about MS-13 guarding rat lines and killing people for certain reasons, shutting people up, things like that. And Trump obviously knew all about it. Look, why isn't he going after the Crips and the Bloods, Jeff? Huh?
I don't know. Maybe he
Because
is on
they're not being used by
right.
DNC.
Yeah.
You know, that's reportedly used.
Well, of course. I mean, they've that's what we talked about before. They've used gangs for nefarious purposes. You know, going back to Lucky Luciano, etc. But like I said, time will tell on this, and I'll be anxious to see. And you could be right, man, because he can't go out and say how much he really knows and how much he's really investigating, because the swamp is so deep, it's so dark, it's so nasty. If he starts playing his hand, that that gives them an opportunity to start counter punching, and he really can't afford that. He's surrounded by Judases. He really needs to play this smart. And I hope you're right. That's the way to do it.
I have a gut feeling. I told you about my gut feelings, man. I've been right on gut feelings a lot, and I think that minus an assassination or these fuckers kicking off a huge war on us, I think that Trump ends up getting these guys, man. Starts bringing down some big fish here pretty quick.
Well, and you see online, people are like, Trump is using North Korea as a distraction from his Russia stuff, which is funny because, I think they're using the North Korea stuff as kind of not even really a distraction, as a chess move to build up our presence more in that area. I mean, it's easy to. I mean, the guy's painting himself into a corner, Kim Jong-un, talking about Guam and this and that. And he's making our moves over there much easier to get over there and get our shit into place. So he needs to shut his damn mouth. Serious.
He's gonna end up dead.
We'll see, man. We'll see. Well, and again, man, this I implore people to go look at the Awan brothers, CrowdStrike, the timeline of these leaks, these supposed hacks, Seth Rich's death. There's just, you really have to do your own research, ladies and gentlemen. Follow the dead body, Sean Lucas, who on tape served the DNC and Debbie Wasserman Schultz. Summons to show up in court. He winds up dead days later. Just look at the dead bodies and the associations. This is the Clintons. There's when you say Clintons, it's almost synonymous with dead bodies. So there's a lot to be found, quite frankly. Even just in the last year, from Seth Rich, Klaus Oberwein, the Peter Smith, the attorneys that are winding up dead down in Florida. It's insane. That's why the conversation with Elizabeth Lee Beck was really important. She has her own. She wants to get her word out there and the story out there as much as possible because she thinks she's going to be killed. And if you look at the statistics of lawyers winding up dead down there.
Yeah, the life expectancy isn't all that long.
Well, and again, not to digress and harp too much on this rat lines, again, understanding what's going on down in Florida, in Tampa, the ports in Florida. This is where fucking CENTCOM is headquartered. And supposedly, some of these contracting companies like KK&R, ran by Kissinger and Petraeus, are big-time part of the rat lines and shipping of weapons, depleted uranium, white phosphorus. There's a lot going on, man. A lot going on, and it has nothing to do with fucking Russia and vote fraud.
So, if this is kind of an interesting question, I'll pose to you. If all this stuff happens, okay, if Trump's able to expose these people, and the DNC basically is it'll literally implode, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, it will literally implode.
It's already on its way.
They're not raising money like they used to. They're already having financial issues. The DNC is shrinking. People realize they're scumbags, all that sort of stuff. The whole liberal message. They've gone more and more left. They're virtually Venezuelan government on the left right now in the United States. They're so fucking far left. But if this stuff all comes unraveled, the truth comes out. If what we believe comes out, and people start getting arrested left and right, and I mean left and right. What happens to the Democratic Party? What happens to all the politicians that are Democrats? Do we end up potentially where we were worried at one time in not that long ago in this country with us literally, I was almost panicked thinking, dude, this could end up being a one-party government in our country. Like, the Democrats might own this fucking country forever because they keep bringing in people that'll vote their way, the voter fraud, and people can say whatever they want. But when you've got like 11 counties that voted blue in California that had more votes than registered voters, there's some shit going on, right?
Right. Dead people voting.
But so then suddenly the pendulum swings so hard back the other way. If this stuff all happens and people are convicted, indicted and convicted of some of these heinous crimes, do we end up with a one-party system the other way?
Well, I mean, I think from the ashes of this, a new party almost would have to be formed, because as we've talked about in this, Pat, yes, the Democrats really did this to themselves, but at the end of the day, when we talk about all of this, it goes beyond right-left, and it is not a right-left thing. It is right and wrong. And like I say all the time, we need to fucking chill out with all these political footballs we kick around and start, like you said, arresting these people who make these conversations about politics almost pointless when you hear about child abductions and satanic ritual abuse. And I mean, the dark, dark shit, man. People need to be held accountable for that. And once they really see kind of how dark it is on both sides, I think people hopefully will begin to rethink politics in general, the right-left paradigm in general, because it is all horseshit. And they are all actors, if you will.
And does the system collapse completely from it? And to what extent, dude?
If it goes as deep as we talk about, it will definitely shake the shit to its very core. From the rat lines to the spy rings, bro, all these guys are compromised. It's like we got to get a fresh fucking start, which is all. I mean, it's really hard to do. It's so vast, and the size of all of this is just beyond my comprehension sometimes. But at the end of the day, I hope this does come out. It doesn't get filtered through some conspiracy theory, narrative. We start understanding that this is an institutionalized system where wicked shit goes on, man, throughout the freaking world, involving both parties. Yeah,
but I mean, so when this whole thing, if it goes down and it does implode, which it's got to. So if it's a race against the clock, if you've got guys like Craig Sawyer, former Navy SEAL, retired Marine, a guy that has been in Hollywood quite a bit as an expert on movie sets for tactics and everything else, a guy that knows what's going on with the pedophilia in Hollywood, a guy that started the nonprofit to go after people. What's the name of his nonprofit? Do you remember?
I think it's Vets for Kids Rescue, I believe.
Vet for Child Rescue?
Vets for Child or Kid Rescue, one of the two.
And the number 4, Vets for Child Rescue or Kids Rescue.
Check my
great guy.
Notes. Yeah, vetsforchildrescue.org.
But he just tweeted out and wrote an article, I believe, on a potential really, really brutal civil war if Trump is removed from office, if he gets impeached. And, I hope it doesn't come to that. What I would prefer see, and it could go the other way, how many lefties are going to believe that, that their political heroes are part of this much corruption and scumbaggery, right?
Well, and
so
that's
could
we
it
talk
go
about
the other
that.
way?
Yeah. People got to take responsibility, man. Like, you can't see this truth right in your face and turn away from it. Not when it comes. Hopefully, it comes out like you're saying. You can't turn away from that. If you do, people need to take responsibility for what comes from that.
And do they? So is there a potential for civil war no matter who wins this battle, whether Trump wins or whether the swamp wins, whether the globalists win? Is there potential for civil war no matter what? And that's what I think about. What I'd love to see if they try to remove Trump, if they get him removed. I mean, throughout history, there have been some awesome tax revolts, some really kick-ass tax revolts, and I would much rather prefer that than the guns going off.
No, absolutely. But I mean, you look at what they've codified into law, man. The first NDAA making propaganda legal, second NDAA, maybe even the first one making people creating this real vague definition of terrorists. You got Sessions talking about going after alternative media that not leaks the shit, reports the leaks. Us talking about rat lines, coming after individuals and shows like ours for exposing this shit, coming after what they call fake news. Dude, if that's the case, CNN, MSNBC, Fox, they need to be shut down immediately if they're talking about fake news. So the fact that legally they, like I said, can deceive with propaganda in the news, legally come after people who call it horseshit. That's, I hopefully think Trump is going against that, but I think if the other side comes back in, you and I need to take a trip to Canada or somewhere.
Dude, imagine the founders of this country what they would be thinking right now if they were to fast forward in time and end up here and see what's going on and go, why aren't you guys shooting people? What the fuck is wrong with you?
We snapped over taxes. You fuckers are like pussies.
You guys are slaves. And
Right.
the whole idea of freedom, the whole lack of understanding of what freedom truly is, they can't grasp. I mean, there's so many examples of it, but just unearned entitlements alone make slaves out of an entire 50 million person population of our country. They're literally enslaved by it, and the people that have to pay, more taxes than we should are enslaved on the other side, and they're using tax dollars to destroy a way of life of the people that are paying the bills to destroy it.
Right.
Right? That's what's so frustrating.
Well, and I agree. I mean, there is definitely a social engineering aspect of that. When we talked to Elizabeth Lee Beck, she was like, I was on food stamps when I was younger. I'm like, that's cool. I mean, I don't necessarily completely against that as a tool, but it's been incentivized to keep pumping out fucking babies, and we pay more and more and more while people have no intention of becoming self-sufficient. It literally becomes, a crutch or their lifeline. You know what I mean? Which is just beyond.
There's no personal responsibility. There's no personal responsibility whatsoever.
None. And like I said, it's been incentivized. It's been like, no, keep fucking up. Basically, we'll pay for it. We'll subsidize your fuck ups.
Yeah. No. So what? And then the NSA director came out. Not to go off on another tangent, but the NSA director just came out and said we should absolutely prepare. We should be preparing for the inevitable collapse of our grid, of our power grid. And I'm like, is he foreshadowing something?
Well, again, I'm a big fan of predictive programming and, Hollywood and TV and media telling you shit before it happens. That's kind of seems like their hallmark. You look at the latest Red Dawn, and that's exactly what that was. That was North Korea coming over, hitting us with an EMP and shutting the grid down. And that's, I've heard that war gamed and spoken of as a likely scenario. An EMP or even a solar flare. If we've got hit now today with some of the bigger solar flares we've been hit with throughout history, we're fucked, man. Especially as reliant we are on our electronics. But that shuts down everything. That shuts down your water, your gas pumps, your toilet, not just your phone and your computer. Like that creates
your the EBT system.
All of it, bro. All of it. That yeah, exactly. Let people not get their shit. The
cash machines,
all of
the
it,
vehicle. Bro. Fries the wiring in the vehicles. Hey, you might want to buy a couple lead blankets for your vehicles.
Just in case the old sun decides to act up.
Yeah. At least then we can go road hunting.
Dude, I mean, there's plenty, honestly, of scenarios. And, I mean, honestly, we talk about it all the time. It's such a unique time to be alive. Like, there's so many different things that are going on right now. And it frustrates me to see people very passively not seeing the seriousness of everything. Not to say we have all the answers, but there is so much shit going on right now. And the divide and conquer is always in huge play because I see grown adults. I won't even mention any names, but I have a couple, I won't mention her name, but a daughter of a big celebrity. She's out in California, big liberal. And I'm like, wow, you're a grown adult sounding like this. Like, so it's, I don't know if it's something in California, but they just, their hatred for Trump just blinds them completely to anything outside of their hatred for Trump, really. It's pretty sad.
Yeah, and you've got, what's the Representative Kathleen Rice? Did you see what she freaking wrote on Twitter today? That moonbat? this moonbat writes that Dana Lausch and the NRA are domestic threats to this nation under Trump's administration.
Right.
And I was like, well, when someone in the government says that law-abiding citizens are suddenly a threat, that brings me back to 1938 fucking Germany. Like with that kind of thought process in government, right? I don't want to get fired from my job at the fucking network, but I wanted to go off on her, man. She's a lunatic.
Yeah, dude. It's like I said, it's a very interesting time, and I don't want to bring up the A word as it relates to Trump, and I don't mean asshole. People are saying, executive action. could be called against. They're trying to take him out supposedly. The scenario of Trump being taken out is a possible scenario I've seen by former intelligence people, etc. I think that could spark some serious shit if he is taken out.
If he got assassinated,
yeah.
If he got assassinated, there would be some serious ass kicking going on.
Even in impeachment, I think people are going to see through that and realize that he will have been illegally removed. Like this silent coup, not to quote a Richard Nixon book, but this silent coup is taking place. Like it's. I'm sorry if people don't get it and they're that pissed at him and think it's all about Russia. I'm sorry, but it's just not. But he's a threat, man. He's a threat to the order right now, especially with these investigations that ensnare everybody. Yeah.
Well, their asses are on the line, man. They're scrambling to do anything they can to take him out. So, it's so I'm going back to Moonbat here for a second. Hold on. I don't even know.
Moonbat.
Some of the stuff.
That needs to be a T-shirt. We need to somehow make that into a meme or some kind of a T-shirt, something having to do with Moonbat.
Moonbats, yes. Yeah, she goes, I'm just going to say it. NRA and Dana Lausch are quickly becoming domestic security threats under President Trump. We can't ignore this.
Yeah. See, again, a grown person with the criteria of what a domestic threat is, like the information, like really, Dana Lausch, the fucking NRA, I mean, whatever. If to be that ignorant, whatever, you can't know what you don't know. But sweetheart, there is much more hardcore domestic threat taking place in Washington D.C. than the NRA and Dana fucking Lausch.
Yeah, and these liberals, I mean, Dan Pfeiffer goes, don't gloss over the fact that Trump threatened what can only be interpreted as a nuclear attack on North Korea if Kim Jong-un taunts him. So they just instantly go to, okay, he's going to drop a nuke on him. Right. It's fucking nuts. Dude, Kim Jong-un's Navy is like 3 John boats.
I know. Yeah.
It's like, okay, yeah, we need to nuke a guy with fucking a wooden Navy. Complete idiots. Just complete fucking idiots.
Well, and that's, like I said, everybody makes it a binary thing. Like, well, if he attacks him, it's got to be nuclear. Like, granted, he did say fire and fury like no one's ever seen before. I'm like, you do know there was a couple of fucking nukes dropped. So we've seen some hardcore shit already. So I don't know what you got, some fucking kind of laser beam or something.
Well, they can shoot shit down with lasers now.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I saw the Navy dust that off not too long ago.
What I think is awesome. I think that's amazing. I like the laser. I like the lasers for crowd control that heat up the human body.
Oh, the microwave guns? Oh yeah, those are amazing.
Yeah.
I saw those. They used those. What was it? One of those global confabs they had here in the last few years, maybe Pittsburgh or something. There was big protests against that. Yeah, they busted those out. The acoustic weapons and the microwave guns. People thought those didn't exist, but yeah, they fry you.
Yeah,
dude.
like a microwave gun would work really well on a frigid date.
Warm up,
right?
Sweetie, warm up.
Yeah, come on, man. I just bought you a burger.
With fries, damn it. You got fries, too.
Yeah. All right, man. I'm good. You good?
Yeah, I think I'm good. I guess, there's plenty. Man, everyone, go check out the CrowdStrike. Go check out the timeline of a lot of this stuff that's been going on the last year. Check out the analysis and the work of Jason Goodman and George Webb, man. They've been really putting it in. People question their motives, but, their work appears to be spot on, man. So.
And people can follow us at Conspiracy Farm 1 on Twitter.
Yeah.
At Conspiracy Farm, the number 1 at the end of it. So give us a follow, and there's a link there to donate if people like to donate, because we need to get on the road and start traveling a lot. And,
yep.
And going and talking to people in different places around the country. So that costs money, so we want to get out and start investigating a little deeper.
And we're not taking money from the bad guys, man. We're not taking money from the bad guys. So we need the farmers' help, baby. We need the farmers' grassroots help as we get this effort off the ground.
We need to go to Haiti and investigate the child trafficking.
Down to up to well, we don't want to give away our locations. Let's not do that. We've learned to possibly play our cards a little close to the chest as far as guests and movements.
Well, we won't announce when we're leaving for Haiti.
All right.
Right.
Yeah. I want that. Right. I want that plane to make it there. All right, champ. Travel safe, brother. Stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen. There will be more.